So first of all, a very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to start a new topic called data structure. But before that, let me introduce myself. I am Sandeep Bist, PGT Computer Science, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Lansdowne. So let's start the topic data structure. So before starting data structure, one must understand that what is a data type, because data structures are actually collections of different data types. So a data type is a type of information transmitted between the programmer and the interpreter, where the programmer informs the interpreter about what type of data is to be stored and also tells how much space is required in the memory. So suppose we write x equal to 6. So actually we are telling the interpreter that we want x to be the type of integer. So I will just give you an example that how compiler, or in this case we are learning Python. So how interpreter um, understands that this particular variable is of type integer or string or any other. So let's do the example. So here I am going to write this thing, say x equal to 6. So just by writing this line, the interpreter will understand that okay, since 6 is an integer, so this x, it has to be of type integer. In the earlier programming languages, we used to explicitly tell the compiler that this x is an integer by typing certain keywords like int, like this, int x equal to 6. But this is a wrong syntax in Python. It was used in C++ like this, int x equal to 6 semicolon. So the compiler used to know that okay, this x is of type integer, because programmer explicitly used to mention this. But in Python we do not do this. We don't have to explicitly define x. We just have to write x equal to 6 and the compiler understands okay that this x is a type of integer just by seeing the value of the variable x. So we can see the type of x by using the type function. So if we write type of x and if we print, then we will see that okay, there is a mistake, indentation mistake. Okay, so let's run this. So now you can see that this x is of type integer. Just by writing x equal to 6, we have shown, we have made the interpreter understand okay that this x is a type of integer. So this int is the data type that we were discussing. So I hope this thing is clear. Now coming back to the slide. So from the definition, now we can understand that what is a data type. So it's a type of information transmitted between the programmer and the interpreter, where the programmer tells the interpreter about the type of particular variable. Now we have to understand what is a data structure. A data structure is the collection of different kinds of data. So that entire data can be represented using a single variable, or we can say using a single object. So we have seen examples of data structures in class 11th, as you all have seen list, tuple, dictionary. These all are examples of data structure. So we will see stack and queues in this session. So let's move ahead. So we have different types of data structures in Python. Some are built-in types and some are user-defined data structures. So built-in types, you must have seen list, dictionary, tuple, sets, and user-defined are stack, queues, tree, linked list, graph, hash-map, and others. So we are concerned with this stack and queue here, and list in the built-in type. So these three data structures we will cover in this session: list, stack, and queue. So we will understand that what is a list, but before understanding that what is a list, we must know what are collections. So collections are nothing, these are just containers which are used to store collections of data. For example, list, dictionary, and tuple, these are all collections. So now coming back to the definition of a list. So a list is a collection which is ordered and changeable. Changeable means mutable. We can change the values of the elements in the list. So in Python, lists are written with the square bracket, as we all know, and they allow duplicate members. This thing also we know, and they can have similar types or different types. So if the elements are of similar types, we will call that list a homogeneous list, and if the elements are of different types, we will call that list a heterogeneous list. So we will see it in an example in the next slide. So how we can declare list in Python? We can declare list in two ways, either a blank list or a list with the default values. So blank list can be declared or defined in two ways. One is using this square bracket, as you can see. So this is a blank list, and you can also use blank list by this using this function, list function. So you can see we have printed the values, so both are blank list. Now list with default values, we just have to pass elements separated by commas in this square bracket, and we can have list with default values. So here you can see L3 and L4. L3 is a homogeneous list because all the elements are of same type, that is integer, and this L4 is a heterogeneous list because two of its elements are integer and one is string. So you can see this is a homogeneous list and this is a heterogeneous list. Now we will discuss how to access a list in Python. So you all must be knowing that we can access list with the help of the index, and in Python list have two types of indexes. One are positive indexes and one are negative indexes. So here I have written this code, and I have run this on my Jupyter notebook, and I have taken the screenshots and I have pasted here so that you can understand that what actually is going on here. So here I am printing the list L, so it will print all the elements of this list. So you can see output here. Now to access the first element with the help of index, I can write print L1. L1 will print the second element because the index starts with 0. So you can see the second element is banana here. So L1 will print banana. So you can see the output. Now I am printing L of -1. -1 means the last element here, because the negative index starts from right hand side and it goes like this: -1, -2, -3 and so on. Okay, so the last element here is mango, so print L of -1, it will print the mango. You can see here output mango. Now we can, as we used to do slicing in strings, we can also do slicing in list. So if I want the this portion 3 to 6, it means 3, 4 and 5. These element will get printed because L of 3 colon 6 will print 3, 4 and 5, because you know as in strings this second parameter, this thing, it is not included. So one less than that, it means 3, 4 and 5. So L of 3, 4 and 5, it means orange, kiwi and melon will get printed. So here you can see this is in the output, this output of this line. Now slicing list using negative indexes from -4 to -1, again -4 this and -1 this. So from -4 to -1, but you know that this -1 will not get included because this second element, this second index, or this right hand side index is not included. So we will only get orange, kiwi and melon. So you can see here in the output. You must have noticed one thing, that we can only print elements from left to right using this slicing technique with two inputs separated by colon. Okay, so is there a way we can print elements like from right to left? So that thing we will see in the next slide. So again, one more example, print L of -1 to 4. So we are trying to print like this from -1 to -4, but it will not get printed. As you can see, the list is blank here. So we will see that how we can print elements from right hand side to this left hand side this way. How we can print element this way in the next slide. And for that to happen, we can use this third argument in this list slicing, inside this bracket we can just give this third argument, and with the help of this argument we can print the list both ways. How? We will see just now. So again, these are the positive indexes of the list, these are the negative indexes of the list. Okay, and we have taken a list, say L. The elements are same as in the previous slide. So you can see I am printing, you can see here blank, blank and 1. We have 3 arguments in the list, start and end step. So start is blank, end is blank, and the step is 1. It means I want to print all the element from starting to end with the step 1, and this is equal to just printing the list L. So if I would have written print L, so that would have been equivalent to this thing, print from start to end with the step 1. So you can see the output here. Again from start to end or end to start, you have to print in a step of -1. So if the step is negative, that is if a step is minus, so what will happen, this will print the list in reverse order. So -1 stands for reversing the list from end to start. So you can see from mango to apple we have list printed in the reverse order. So with the help of step argument in the list slicing, we can print elements of the list from right to left. This is important, this thing you have to remember. Now this third one, you can see we are printing from starting to end, from we are printing all the elements with the step 2. So what all elements will get printed? Apple, cherry, kiwi and mango. So you can see the output apple, cherry, kiwi and mango here, because we are printing all the elements. Then in the reverse order with the step -2, so we will get the reverse of this thing in reverse order: mango, kiwi, cherry and apple. Now you can slice a portion of the string by passing from 2 to 6. It means from 2 to 5, because this second argument is not being included. So index 2, 3, 4 and 5 will get printed, but with the step of 2. It means we will get what? We will get cherry and kiwi only, because we are from here we are printing. So 0, then 4, but it cannot include 6 because 6 is not included. So only this cherry and kiwi will get printed. So here you can see the output in the output window, cherry and kiwi. Now the last one, from the last element till -6. So -6 means 1. -6 corresponds to 1, but it will not get included. So it will print till only 5, -5. So the elements that will get printed will be mango, because it's in the step of 2, then kiwi and then cherry. So you can see the output. So I hope you understood that how we can do a kind of slicing in string in list also, as we can do in string. So I hope this is clear. Now some simple operations on list. So what are the simple operations? One would like to change the item value of the list, or go through the list, and if you want to check that whether an element exists in the list. These are the simple operations that can be performed on list. So to change the item value, we just have to write the name of the list followed by a square bracket and index, and then just change the element. So here you can see we have a list having apple, banana and cherry as elements. So we are changing the second element. It means list of 1 equal to black currant, and then printing this list. So output will be apple, black currant and cherry. So this way we can change the item value. Now to iterate through loop, or to loop through list, we can use for loop. So for x in this list, print x. So what will happen here, that x will take the value of all the elements, and in loop those elements will get printed. So apple, banana and cherry, the x will take these 3 values and print them in order. Okay, now how to check that whether if an item exists in the list or not. So here we can use this in keyword. So if apple in list, so this will check the condition that whether apple is in list or not. If true, then this will get printed. If false, then it will not get printed. So apple is in list, yes, sure. So this will get printed. So in this way we can check whether a item is present in the list or not. Now moving ahead, so here are some functions. We can also call them methods. So these are the methods defined in the list. So we can use these methods in list, and we will see one by one. Now we have append, extend, clear, copy, count, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse and sort. So we are going to see them one by one. So what I have done, I have run these methods on my Jupyter notebook, and I have pasted the screenshots. So let's go through those screenshots. So first, the append method. Now what does this append method do? This append method appends an element to the end of the list. So it's append an element to the end of a list. So you have to focus here on this word, append an element. And here signifies that you can append only one element. So that element can be a string, integer, or a list, or even a list, but that element will be only one. So append method will always include only one element in the list. It will add that element. Okay, so it will be clear. So suppose we have this list A containing 3 elements, apple, banana and cherry, and then we have this list B having Ford, BMW and Volvo. So now if we want to append B in A, so we will write A dot append and then pass this B. So this list B will get appended as a single value. It means it will get appended as a single element. So here you can see, so it's a single element, and this element is a list which contains 3 elements. So you can see apple, banana, cherry, and this one list having Ford, BMW and Volvo. This fact can be checked by printing the length of the this list. So here I have printed the length of this list A. Now you can see the length is 4 because it contains 4 elements, apple, banana, cherry and this list. I hope this is clear. And what does this and here means? What does it signify? It signifies a single element. Now extend method, what it does, it adds the specific list items to the end of the current list. So it is in contrast with the append method. Append method will add a single element. It will add all the element in the list. So you will see in the example, we have a list called fruits having 3 elements, apple, banana and cherry, and then we have cars having 3 elements. So now I am appending, or I am extending this list, fruit dot extend cars. So you can see the word extend. Extend means I am just extending the elements in the list. So the elements of car will get extended to this fruit list. So as you can guess, the number of element will become 6 because 3 were earlier and then 3 more element got extended. So the length will be 6. So you can see this in the output. We have the length of the list fruits, that is 6. So now you can see the difference between append and extend. This is important and this might be asked in the exams. So see this and understand this. Okay, now the next 3 methods, these are clear, copy and count. Now the clear method simply clears all the elements in the list. You can see this here, the output is 0. I have called this clear method and this list has no element now. Earlier it was having these elements. Now copy method creates a copy of the existing list and you can collect that list in another variable. So you can see we have a list here, fruits, and then I have called this copy method from this fruits list. So it will return a list and this new list will be X, and if we print this X, so the elements will be same as in the earlier one. So you can see the copy, as the name suggests, it copies the list. Now count function, it returns the number of items in the list which we pass as argument in that count function. So here we have a list fruits and I am calling this count function and I am passing this cherry as an argument. So it will count that how many cherries elements are there. So as you can see, we have this cherry here and the cherry here. So we have 2 elements named cherry. So the answer will be 2. This X will be 2. So you can see here the output is 2. So I hope this clear, copy and count method is now clear to you. So now next 3 methods we have index, insert and pop method. So what does this index method do? So this index method, it returns the index of the past element. So suppose I am calling this index method on this fruits list having these 3 elements. So I want to have the index of this cherry, and as you know the index starts with 0. So 0, 1, 2. So this value of X must be 2 and it is 2. Now the insert method. Now insert method inserts an element in the list on the specified index. So this insert method takes 2 arguments. One is the index and the other is the element to be inserted at that index. So currently at index 1 we have banana. So when this insert function will get executed, this banana will get shifted to the right and this orange will get inserted here, and we can see that in this output you can see apple, orange, banana and cherry. So this is the function of this insert method. Now pop method. Now what does this pop method do? This pop method is the opposite of this insert method. It will remove the element whose index we have passed. So here I have called this pop method with the index 1 and then I printed the value of this fruit list. So you can see this at index 1 we had this banana, now it is not here in this output. You can see we have only 2 elements, apple and cherry. I hope this index, insert and pop method is clear. Now this remove, reverse and sort method. Remove, as the name suggests, it will remove the element from the list. The difference between this remove and that pop was here we actually pass the element. So this element is being removed. Reverse, as the name suggests, it will reverse the element in the list. So we have this list fruits, and once we call this reverse, so it will reverse the elements of this fruits list. So one thing you can see here, that since fruits is a list and it is mutable, so we can change the values of the items. So this change is being reflected in the same list fruits. We have not collected it in another list. So the value of fruits will now be cherry, banana and apple. So you can see why this list is of mutable type. It is of mutable, not immutable. It is mutable. We can change the elements of the list. Now this sort method, it will by default sort the elements of the list in alphabetic order. You can see we have Ford, BMW and Volvo as elements in this cars list. So once we sorted this list and we have printed the car, you can see the output BMW, Ford and Volvo. We can pass an argument this reverse equal to true in this sort function. So it will sort in the reverse order, as you can see in the output, Volvo, Ford and BMW. So I hope that this remove, reverse and sort methods are clear to all of you. Now moving ahead. So now we will see our next data structure, that is stack. And you all must have seen a stack in real life, like this is a cylindrical glass bottle, and this is an example of stack. This is also an example of a stack. This is a stack of letters or postcards. This stacks of these cylindrical and this weightlifting thing you can see here, and you can have this stack of plates. You must have seen this. So one common property of all these pictures you can see is that they follow a certain pattern, and that pattern is last in first out. It means the element which is being inserted at last, and if we want to take an element from this stack, so only the last one will get out first. So this property is called LIFO, that is last in first out property. So I hope this stack, the meaning of stack is clear. What is a stack? A stack is just a data structure which follows this last in first out thing. Okay, so let's move ahead and see the definition of stack. So a stack is a linear data structure that stores item in the last in first out or first in last out manner. So as you have seen in the example, last in first out. So as I've told you, in a stack a new element is added at one end and the element is removed from that end only. It means the element which was inserted at last, that will be removed first. And to insert, this insert operation is called push operation, and to remove that element, and that remove operation is called the pop operation. Now implementation of stack. So as we know that stack is a LIFO data structure, last in first out. Now implementing of stack using, we will implement the stack using a list. But what exactly do we mean by implementing a stack using a list? What does it mean to implement something? So here, to implement this stack means we have to implement the behavior of the stack, and the behavior, as we know, is LIFO, last in first out. So how we can implement this behavior, last in first out? So we know that we have functions, so we can implement behavior with the help of functions. So this last in first out can be implemented using two functions, push and pop. And a push is for inserting and pop is for removing the element. So from here, now it is very clear, to implement a stack means to implement the LIFO behavior of the stack, and that can happen with the help of function, that is push and pop. So we will write the function push and pop, and in that way we can implement this stack. So you can see this is the stack. So we can push from this side only and we can pop from this side only. So last in first out behavior will be followed if we do this operation in a list. So we are using a list to implement stack. So it should be clear to you, we are using a list to implement a stack. Okay, and how we can implement? Just by inserting and removing from this one end only we can implement stack. So it will be more clear to you in the next example, in the next slide, this slide. Here I have written the code. So I was telling you that to implement a stack means to write two functions, push and pop. These are the functions that we have to implement, and you can see I have written the code in Jupyter and pasted the screenshots here. So I have these two pictures. This picture was below this thing, so I have pasted them side by side so that you can understand this thing. So here I have taken an empty stack and I have implemented these two push and pop method. You can see we have two other methods. These are not necessary if you want to implement a stack, but they help us, to look into this stack that what are all the elements right now and what is the element on top. So we can use these two functions to see those things, but the main functions are push and pop. Now to implement a stack in Python is very easy. We have to insert element on a single side. So this Python helps us to do this thing just by calling a function, and that function you have already gone through. That is the append function. So if we call this append function, so it will push the element at the last of the string, as simple as that. So it was not that easy in earlier programming languages, but here in Python it is very easy, because Python has given us function, this append function. So I have written this push function, but I am doing nothing inside this push function, just I am calling this append function with this item, the thing that we have to insert. So just you have to write this single statement and this push function is implemented. Now this pop function, again this pop function, Python has given us a pop function and the name of the function is also pop. So you just have to call this pop function and that element will get removed from the last of the list. I think I have said a string here in this push. It is list. It will get appended to the last of the list, not a string. So it is very easy. So you can see I have just checked the length of the stack. So if the length of the stack is 0, so we have to just display a message that okay, the stack is empty, so we cannot pop anything. But otherwise we will just use this stack.pop. So this will return the element which it is it is popping, so we can print that thing. So we have implemented push and we have implemented pop. I think it's very easy. And this function show stack, so it will just print the stack, nothing else. So I have just written this one line here, print stack. And this peek function, what is this peek function doing here? This peek function is just printing the last element of the list. So how we can do that? Just we can take the length of that list, and we know that since index starts from 0, so the index of the last element will be length -1. So we are just printing this length -1 element of this list. So these are the 4 functions, and here in the main module I am just this is the, as you can see, it is the menu of the functions that I have written here. So I am taking the input from user, converting that input to an integer value, because 1 is for push, 2 is for pop, 3 is for peek, and 4 is for show stack function. So I am taking this input in this variable x, and if x is 1, it means user wants to push. So I have to take the items, which item that user is wanting to push in this stack. So I am calling this input function, enter the item, and this item is being collected in this itm variable, and I am just calling this push function, as you can see. So if x equal to 1, we will call the push function. If x equal to 2, we will call the pop function. If x equal to 3, we are calling peak, and if x equal to 4, we are calling the last, this so stack function. And if x is equal to -1, so we are just exiting out of this loop, while one loop. So if user wants to get out of the stack or this doing the push and pop thing, he or she can just write -1 and it will go out of the loop. So here you can see we have implemented this stack just by writing push and pop function. In push function we have to just call this append method with the item call. In pop function we just have to call this stk.pop, and we are just checking one more thing, that the length is not 0. If length is 0, just print this stack is empty, otherwise print this call this pop function, and this so element is printing the stack and this peak is printing the topmost element, and these 4 functions I am calling from this loop. So I hope this is very easy and the stack implementation is clear to you. So now next is our queue data structure. So you all have seen the queues in real life, a queue outside the cinema hall, in the ticket window you can see queue. So there are many examples where we have seen queue. So what is a queue? A queue is a data structure where insertion is done from one side and this removal is being done from other side. So this is the property of the queue. As you can see, insertion from this side and deletion or removal from another side. So this queue follows a typical behavior. As stack was following last in first out, this queue is following first in first out. So you have to understand this thing. FIFO, FIFO, first in first out behavior. The person who will come first will leave first. The person who will enter last or come last will leave last. So this is the behavior of a queue. So you can see the person will insert from what we call rear, and that person can go, or that element can be removed from this thing, that we are calling front. So insertion from one end and deletion from another end, that is the basic property of queue. Now the definition of a queue. So like stack, a queue is a linear data structure that stores item in first out, FIFO manner, as we have discussed. And with a queue, the least recently added item is removed first. Yes, of course, the one who has come earlier will go first. So here is the example of a queue. So a good example of a queue is any queue of consumers or for a resource where the consumer that come first is served first. So this is basically the definition of queue. You have to remember only this thing, first in and first out behavior. So queue is it's a linear data structure that follows first in first out behavior. Now again, implementation of a queue, as we have seen in this stack. To what is the meaning of implementing a queue using a list? Again here also we will implement the queue with the help of list. But what does that mean? It means to implement the behavior of this queue. So behavior, which behavior it follows? It follows first in first out behavior. And how we can implement that first in first out behavior? Again, we can implement that behavior with the help of two functions. In a stack we call them push and pop. Here we are calling them enqueue and dequeue. So it's just the convention that we call enqueue, and in a stack we call this push, and in a stack the removal function we call pop, and here we call this function dequeue. So we just have to write this enqueue and dequeue function. But the catch here is this enqueue and dequeue, this will happen on the different sides of the list. Okay, so let's see the code. Now you can see I have written these two functions NQ and DQ. It means I am implementing a queue with the help of a list. And this third method, that show queue, I have written just to print the elements of the queue at a particular time. But basically these two main functions are NQ and DQ. Again, same, we can use the append built-in function, this append function of the list, and we can write it here, same as in stack. And DQ, for DQ we have to remove the element from the other side of the list. So suppose this is the list, as you can see. So this append will add the element here after this element, and if we want to DQ or remove the element, we have to do it here, because that is the property of queue, first in first out, that is FIFO. So I think you all have guessed it right. In DQ we will call pop function and at index 0, as simple as that. Just so DQ function, you have to call this pop function of this queue, and for NQ just the append function as we have seen in stack. So it is very, very simple. I am telling you that it was not this simple in C++ or any other language, but in Python they have made it very, very easy. You just have to call the inbuilt function. And one more thing, in DQ you have to check the length of the queue, of course, because if there is no element in the list, you can't call this pop function. So here we are checking the length of this queue, which we have defined here. It's a list, actually it's list. Okay, so we are checking the length of the list. If the length of the list is 0, so we are printing this message, otherwise we are popping out the first element. And after this queue.pop function, when this element will get removed, what will happen, this automatically all the element will move one step ahead by itself. And this is the thing which makes it easy for us. We don't have to do anything. Okay, in earlier programming languages like C++, we had to maintain this front and rear, this indexes, with the help of certain variables. We call those variables front and rear, and we used to remove element from arrays. We used to add arrays there, and then we used to move this variable, we used to point this front variable to this thing in case of deletion, and in case of addition we used to extend we used to insert element at the end of the array, and we used to increase this rear variable. But nothing of such sort you have to do here. You just have to call this pop function in case of DQ and this append function in case of NQ, as simple as that. So again, these are the three functions, and I am calling this function from this main. This is an infinite loop. If user will input 1, we will call NQ function. If the user will enter DQ, we will call if the user will enter 2, we will call DQ, and if 3, then we will call this SoQ function. And if the user inputs -1, we will exit out of the loop. So you can see in 1, if user inserts 1, we are calling this NQ function. If 2, we are calling this DQ function. If 3, we are calling this SoQ function, and if -1, we are exiting out of the loop. And if anything else, we are just writing this, please enter a valid input. So I hope this queue is clear to you. It's very, very easy in Python. So once you will go through this, you will easily understand stack and queue, because you have nothing, you don't have much to do here. You just have to call inbuilt function append and this pop in case of stack, and you can see in case of this NQ and DQ in case of queue, and in case of stack you have to call this append and pop function. Okay, so I hope stack, queue and list is clear to you. So that's all, and thank you.